Hey, what's going on? It's kylecroese, and welcome to the Everything I Watched for July 2021. Hadn't done one of these since April. To be honest, I didn't really watch much in March and June, and I kicked it up a bit in July. So, without further ado, let's get on to it. We got the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get them. And there hasn't been an episode out in a while. I've been taking a break from that as well, but there will be out one soon about horror movies, specifically about the horror movies that I've been watching recently. And let's get on with it. So first up is Millennium Actress. I watched this on Criterion Channel. This is about a news reporter and a cameraman. And they go to visit this older actress. I forget her name, but they go to visit this actress that has been around for a while, very well known throughout Japan, and they pretty much relive her memories and the scenes in her movies, and pretty much go on a journey of her whole life, and that's where I'll leave it. I love this. This is fantastic. This was such a gorgeous and poetic love letter to cinema and in general, and a passionate, unconditional, eternal love in general between two people. It's also just an appreciation of the journey to get there as well, no matter how long it takes. And it now has one of my favourite final lines of any film. If you've seen Paprika and Perfect Blue, I don't know what else to tell you, man. Satoshi Tone is the king, and it's now playing on Criterion Channel, and as part of their, I think it's their animation art house collection. So check it out if you want to do that. Next up is Batman, The Long Halloween, Part 1. This has been split into two parts. Now, this is based off the iconic Batman story, The Long Halloween. I actually read the comic as part of a book club I'm part of, and I really liked it. When I heard they're adapting the story, I was keen to check it out, but I wasn't sure how they're going to do it, because it is quite a lengthy story. We are getting a taste of a little bit of the story as well in Matt Reeves' live-action film next year, Robert Pattinson. The animation reminded me really of the Batman animated series and the Mask of the Phantasm movie, which is a fantastic Batman movie. If you haven't checked that out. I also love the paint wash backgrounds. It really gave me that comic book feel. And the voice acting was great too, especially Jensen Ackles, Troy Baker as well. I didn't mind the pace either. Like, I am a sucker for slow burn plots like this one. If you're not, it is pretty slow. These are two parts split into an hour and a half each. I haven't seen part 2 yet, but I'm pretty keen to check it out when it comes out. It's probably already, it's definitely out. Part 2 is definitely out though, because it is the 19th of August, so it is definitely out. Next up is Thirst, directed by Park Chan-wook. I'm slowly making my way through this amazing man's filmography. I watched and loved Joint Security Area in May. So that is one film I did watch in May that I haven't talked about, but I did watch that. That is definitely my new Park Chan-wook, my new favourite Park Chan-wook film. I was actually given the DVD for this by a friend, and I finally got around to watching it, and what do you know? He delivered again. But I may say this is bolstered by the performances of Song Kang-ho and Kim Vin. This is about a priest that volunteers to take part in an experimental procedure that could lead to a cure for a deadly virus. He gets infected and dies, but a blood transfusion brings him back to life as a vampire. And then from then on, he has to tackle his crisis of faith, his bloodlust, and a newfound woman named Taiju. I was drawn to the central attraction between these two and the romance. I don't know what to call it, but there's a connection. And the sound design is also just like fucking delicious, if I might say, if that's the right word to use. I don't know if that's an appropriate word, but that is what I felt. There is a lot more to talk about with this film, so I think I might even dedicate a podcast to talking about this and a few other Korean films that I want to check out, because I just think there's a lot to sink my teeth into. Yeah, I wrote that. Next up is Slacker by Richard Linklater, directed by Richard Linklater. This is his first movie, his debut film. This is technically Richard Linklater's first feature. I'm a big fan of Linklater, particularly the Before trilogy, Days Confused, Everybody Wants Some, great films. I absolutely love this. This was really, really, really good. I've seen so many shows and movies that explore small towns to where you learn about the characters, but it's always to move the plot forward or to reveal information. But when you put Linklater's natural sounding dialogue into seemingly random people, it just works. especially like for this concept. Some conversations here are like I'm more interesting than others, but I was never bored throughout the 100-minute runtime, and I simply like adored the simple concept of just a camera moving throughout a town and giving us a small glimpse into the lives of every person it passes. I seem to really like films with just characters just like fucking talking all the time about anything, so this was a big hit for me. I'm also going through like a big Jarmusch filmography phase at the moment, and his films also have a lot of just people chatting and talking about life and stuff like that, and he's also becoming one of my favorite filmmakers as well. So if I'm just saying that if you like Jarmusch and if you haven't seen any of Linklater, you might like this, and obviously do check out Linklater's other films as well. But this film is currently playing on the Criterion channel, so check it out. It's really good. Alright, here we go. It's Black Widow. I don't know where to start with this one. All I can say is this was a huge letdown, if I'm honest. And after watching this, I now see why Karen Kusama passed on this, because there was a article that came out before this film was going into development and getting production, where she refused to work on the film because when she asked about the action scenes and how they were going to be filmed and choreographed and everything, Marvel pretty much just said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of that." Again, didn't really get to direct her own action scenes, which Kusama has done before. So it just goes to show that Marvel is just like a machine, and then it just wants to. It's pretty much directed by Disney, and unfortunately, I was excited because I do like Kate Shortland, fellow Aussie Kate Shortland, filmmaker. She made Law, Somersault, and Berlin Syndrome with what's her name? Teresa Palmer, I think her name is Teresa Palmer. It's Teresa Palmer. She took this up instead, Kate Shortland, and I didn't see any inch of her directorial style in this at all. So unfortunately, this is another middle low tier churn out for the MCU, which really breaks my heart, especially for the character of Natasha Romanoff. Now, when I saw the trailer, I felt like we would get some Bourne-like action set pieces and just a really fun spy movie, while also building upon the character of Natasha herself. But guys, I don't know, I'm sorry to say that the action in this movie is just the worst part about it, actually. It's all just so fucking forgettable, and great stunt work is masked with shitty and bouncy CGI. The editing is also the worst part of it, and it's the worst editing I've seen in the MCU, full stop, really. Especially during the first act, and jokes are just really bad, man. Just really bad. There are some sequences where the film could have benefited from some dramatic tension, but instead, like, the writers just have to insert some stupid juvenile joke that really fucks with the tone of the movie. Like, I struggle to even connect to any of these characters because almost everything is played for laughs. You have David Harbour as Alexei, who is trying to, do his best throughout the film, and he's great as well. And of course, Florence Pugh is one of the best parts of the movie as well, as Yelena, Natasha's sister. But guys, there is one of the things that really pissed me off with this movie, and especially with the writing wise and joke wise, is there's a scene where Natasha and Yelena are breaking Alexei out of prison, and they get in the chopper, and Natasha makes some sort of comment about that they've had a hysterectomy, and Alexei's asking like what that is, and then Yelena goes on to say what it is and what happens. They just pull your ovaries out, blah blah blah. But she makes some sort of joke about it, and it's really like shitty. First of all, it's a really just shitty joke. It's not funny at all. Didn't get any laughs. What really upset me about this one is we've already established in the MCU that this is a very traumatic thing for Natasha. I don't know if you guys remember, but in Age of Ultron, Natasha and Bruce have this conversation when they're at Clint's house. She tells him about their hysterectomy and how badly they were treated as Black Widows, and it's a very, very sad scene, a very sad moment. But it's also a really great scene between these two characters to strengthen their bond with each other and get to know each other more. And the way Scarlett Johansson delivers that monologue, that dialogue, it's a very somber and very serious tone. But when you jump to something like this, it's all played for laughs. like, I think it'd be work. Look, I would still wouldn't work for me anyway because I don't think the joke was funny in the first place. But it may have worked better if you didn't first pre-establish that this is a traumatic thing that happened to the Black Widows. So you're just fucking again. You're just completely fucking your movie, and you're making light of something that was very, very traumatic. Again, I've seen a lot of other movies where that has been done, but the writing is better in the first place. And second, again, like I said, you've already pre-established that this is a terrible, terrible thing. So it's weird to have the characters make fun of it now. But yeah, that's just a tangent or a rant I wanted to go on there. But I just didn't like this movie. It also just tries to set up the next phase where this really could have been just a singular, like this could have been a singular standalone movie about Natasha. Maybe what happened in Budapest with Clint. I thought we'd get answers there. We did not. And it would have been a nice send-off. But instead, we've still got to connect everything to the next phase. Everything's got to keep moving forward. The problem is there is you have to strike a balance. But the balance is not struck because Marvel is trying to have their cake and eat it too by giving everyone a Black Widow movie, but at the same time having Yelena be the next Black Widow, where essentially you're sidelining Natasha in her own film. I don't know, just really rubbed me the wrong way. I really didn't like it. Big disappointment. It sucks that Kate Shortland was into this. I actually wrote on my notes this is directed by Disney, not Kate Shortland. There's other films where you do see a director's, style and trademark. I'm talking Thor Ragnarok. I'm talking Black Panther. When it's like this, and it's just some sort of conveyor belt, soulless thing. This is the result that you get. So, not a fan of it. I didn't like it. Low tier Marvel. Next up is Gunpowder Milkshake. Not much to say about this one at all, really. It's a fun movie. It's got a great female lead cast, some cool stylized action set pieces, and a few comedic moments. I just wish it was a bit more fast-paced and had a bit more energy infused into it. It feels weirdly slow at times, and it hurts the pacing. And my man Ralph Anderson as well. He was done dirty with that screen time, dude. He was done dirty with that screen time. A waste of his talents, in my opinion. Don't think it was utilised that well. But look, if you just want a fun and violent action flick with some kick-ass women, this will scratch that itch. This won't hurt to watch. It's a fun movie. I just wish it had better pacing. That's about it. Next up is The Woman Who Ran. I saw this. Someone was talking about this on the Letterboxd, and the premise looked interesting. The way it was filmed looked interesting. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I will watch it. I will check it out. This is directed by Hong Sang-soo. This is the first of his movies that I've obviously seen. But I'll tell you what, after watching this movie, I'll definitely be checking out more of his filmography. Because I really appreciated the simple approach to this. The camera work and zooms may come off as amateurish to some people, but to me, the simplistic and deliberate approach to a story like this really worked. It really showed the claustrophobia and the looming uncertainty of Gam-hee's situation. Because throughout the film, you get the feeling that Gam-hee is unsure of her relationship with her husband, that she craves an escape. Like, she constantly says that her husband and her have been together for I think it's 5 years. And she's always saying that, my husband says we need to stay together. And people that are in love need to stay together. They can never be apart. And there's always this building hesitance. Each person she tells that to. And you can tell that she is not really in it. That she kind of wants to escape. There's also great shots that illustrate this, but also the three men that are in this film are obstacles to all of the ladies that have conversation in this movie, because they just want to fucking talk to each other, and these men just keep coming in and interrupting them, and it's all perfectly set up, structured, that a man has to come in and interrupt their conversation. And they could be talking about life, they could be talking about where they are in their lives, what they're doing, what they aspire to be. And there's always a man to come in and just fucking spill his bullshit. And it really pays off in a really nice way towards the end, where Gam-hee has to tell a man pretty much to shut up, to stop talking. It's really well done. I really like how that's done. I like how she delivers that line to him. And yeah, like I can't really say much about it. It's really just about this woman that goes around having conversations with three of her friends about the situation that she's in, and just the way that this is filmed, the way that it's done, it's directed, it's acted, very natural, and it may, like I said, may come off as amateur-like, but this, I really enjoyed the way this is done, and I'm really looking forward to checking out more of Hong Sang-soo's films. I think I want to watch the Walking on the Beach Alone at Night one next. And I'll finally say that this does, so far, even though this came out last year, this is my favorite shot of the year so far. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it really makes you think and reflect as well. Next up, we have Werewolves Within. This is actually based off a VR game of the same name published by Ubisoft. I haven't played it. I heard it's fun, but I have not played it. So this is also directed by Josh Rubin. He used to be on College Humor, and he was actually one of my favorites, actually, alongside Streeter Seidel from College Humor. And last year he released a film called Scare Me on Shudder, which he starred with Aya Cash. And look, I didn't love it, but I still thought it was a fun little spooky romp. And I saw the trailer for this earlier this year while at the theatre, and I saw the cast, and I was pretty keen to see it. I love Sam Richardson, and Milena Vaintrub is a Vaintrub. I'm not too sure to say that last name, but she's a likable presence in everything she's in. I haven't seen her in much, but everything she has been in, she's been pretty likable. Also, werewolves, they're pretty cool. And this is also, say it with me now, a small town mystery. We love a small town mystery in this household. I was pretty keen to see it. But look, aside from a few cool moments and Sam Richardson's character, I found this to be pretty bland with lots of insufferable dialogue. The characters in this are just really forgettable, and unfortunately, I found Milena Vaintrub's to be the worst. She really didn't feel like a character. She just came off as a mouthpiece for blatant and maddening dialogue filled with political correctness that just didn't feel natural at all, aka my least favourite kind of dialogue. My eyes were probably going to fall out of the back of my head, the amount of rolling they were doing throughout this film. Look, now to be transparent, I do not have a problem with film having themes like this, as long as it's done in a much, much better way, a much more effective way as well. This really reminded me of that dialogue in that god-awful Black Christmas remake from Sofia Coppola back in 2019, wherein most of those characters in that were all really just mouthpieces for that writer's agenda. And it, again, just didn't feel natural. It just felt like it was being shoved down my throat. And it was also just maddening. It was really annoying because these didn't really feel like characters to me. These weren't characters. And unfortunately, this film suffers from the same thing. The point is, I just think there are much better ways to represent the themes this film possesses. Look, huge spoiler for the movie if you guys want to skip this section, but I'm going to talk about a spoiler here. So, warning, huge spoiler. In the end, it is revealed in a cool but predictable twist that Cecily is in fact the werewolf of Milena Vaintrub's character. When Finn asks her why, she responds with, "Girls go to eat." 3 simple lines. Now, these lines right here are only 3 lines, but yet it tells us more than any type of obvious PC dialogue that this film has just littered throughout it. And you can interpret that line in many ways. Girls got to eat. You can interpret that line in many, many ways and have fun with it and think about the different things that it represents. Now, I won't get into it now because this video will go on fucking forever, but I hope you get what I mean there. Anyway, this movie had a lot of potential, and a few ways it gets it, but most of the time, it just doesn't work, in my opinion. Right, next up, we have Pig. Yeah, it's Pig. This is directed and written by Michael Sarnowski. Everyone's raving about Pig. It's been going around. It's been doing its circles. People have been talking about Nicolas Cage's performance. I want to check it out. I wanted to watch it. And I'm happy to say, loved it. Absolutely loved it. This movie really, really surprised me. Knowing Neon and the kind of content they put out, I wasn't expecting a John Wick-like revenge movie in the first place, but I really wasn't expecting what I saw throughout this movie. This movie really is a meditative and anti-revenge movie with surprising peek into the culinary industry, with a comment on class, like kind of squeezed in there. This also has, and it goes without saying, everyone's right. a great performance, an amazing performance from Nicolas Cage. And deservedly so, it's been talked about because this man's performance is probably one of my favorites of the year so far. But it also has a great and nuanced performance from Alex Wolff. And I don't really feel like many people are talking about this performance, because this kind of supporting character could have easily been surface level. Maybe with this wrong filmmaker and actor, it could have been quite forgettable. And even seen as a crutch to Nicolas Cage's character. But the characterization Sarnowski gives this character is melancholic, it's very bittersweet. It even gels into our main story and never comes off as a shoehorned subplot, especially with his father. Alex Wolff is definitely one to keep an eye on. I've been watching him ever since Hereditary anyway, like really watching his performances. And I very much recommend this movie, and I can't wait to watch it again because, like I said, everything about it was great. It was very surprising. It was pleasant at times as well. And there's a really great scene where Wolff's character, talking about these characters again, Alex Wolff's character makes Cage's character some breakfast that is so simply made. The scene is so simply done and presented, but it's so effective. And on rewatching, it can gain even more power. I think Michael Sarnowski is definitely going to be a filmmaker to keep an eye on, much like Eggers, much like Asta. I'm not comparing him to them, but they were definitely filmmakers that I watched their first movie and waited for more, and they delivered. So, yeah, we definitely keep my eye out for a bit more of Sarnowski. All right, next up. What happened was, we're going to cut that out. So I actually found about this through Criterion Channel's Instagram. Every now and then they'll post stills from current films that are playing on the channel at the moment, and sometimes they'll include a little anecdote to describe the film. I came across a post about this last month, and I'm very intrigued by the still alone, which had Karen Sillis' character holding a book by a lantern, and it just looked very moody, and I was like, all right, I'm waiting the mood for that. I also found out that this won the Grand Jury Prize at the Sundance Film Festival in 1994, and it's directed by Tom Newman, which is adapted from a play of the same name, written by Tom Noonan as well. And one of my favorite filmmakers, Charlie Kaufman, states that this is one of his favorite movies. So that alone, all of that piled up, that was the incentive to watch it. Wow, I don't know where to start with this one. This movie is like the cinematic equivalent of one of those useless box things that that has a switch, like turns itself off. Hopefully there will be a image editing Kyle will put an image in for us to have a look. But I want to say the switch is our performance that we do for others as we appear to them in our best form that we can muster. Whereas the little hand that comes out of the box to, touch the switch, try and get the hand in, touch the switch, is our true selves bursting at the seams to come out, but is constantly stifled by our insecurities. Or would it be the other way around? I'm not too sure. I do know that I love this movie, and I felt every minute of this evening between Jackie and Michael, played by Karen Sillis and Tom Noonan. And I can't believe I hadn't even heard of this one before. Like, no one talks about this one when they talk about some of these great movies from the 90s, some of these great movies about love and relationships and life. No one talks about this one. So I'm so glad I did check this one out. Like, there is so much more to say. The production design of Jackie's apartment, the dull and ugly fluorescent lighting, contrasted with the warm candlelight, the two shots, the blocking of scenes between these two characters. This is based off a play, but the way they're still blocked in this movie is, I think, is still quite commendable. And the performance and presence of Karen Sillis, and she's fantastic, and there's so much more to talk about. But all I want to say is, just watch the movie. Please just watch the movie. I think it is a work of art, and look at that. 5 out of 5. Next up is Mystery Train. This is the last film I checked out during July. Now, I like talking, and I like little stories here. I like Jim Jarmusch. But this one didn't get it. Didn't hit me. This one just didn't stick with me. I liked the first two stories, and I really thought the last tale just wasn't as interesting as the first two. You have the first stories between the Japanese tourist, then you have the second story with the Italian mother that's going to pretty much grieving her dead husband, and she sees a ghost of Elvis Presley. But this third story between, which I was excited to see Steve Buscemi's in this. The third story with him was just like not really that eventful, and it just wasn't as interesting, like I said, as the first two. I think the performances there as well were better than the first two as well. I also think it's better if you're a fan of Elvis Presley, which I'm not really that much of a fan, so I didn't really connect with all the Elvis moments. But I can understand the person that is a fan of Elvis would love this, would connect more of these events and connect more of his presence in this film, because he's all over this movie. This does take place in Memphis, and they talk about going to Graceland. They talk about seeing Elvis's ghost, his shadow, they just feel his presence with them in this whole entire film. I can also understand why this is your favorite Ginger Mush, but this one just didn't get this one, guys. Just didn't get this one. But that's fine. We'll move on to the next one. I've still got Stranger Than Paradise, Dead Man, I think, is left as well. I think it's those two. And Permanent Vacation. That's it. Stranger Than Paradise, Dead Man, and Permanent Vacation. I still haven't seen from John Mush. And then once I've seen those, I'll finish the filmography. And I've still got Park Chan-wook's to finish as well. So very excited to get through these two men's filmographies. And Kelly Reichardt is another director as well that I'm going through at the moment. She's fantastic. She makes great films. If you saw First Cow from last year, great stuff. And that'll do it. Thank you for watching this July video that's coming out in August. I haven't really seen that much in August, but I'll definitely try and get that August video out sooner than I can. And there'll be a podcast out soon about some horror movies that I've seen recently, and just trying to get everything back in shape. Corona's coming back full force where I'm living, and it's not fun, but we're just doing what we can to survive. So stay safe, wash your hands, stay inside, and treat each other with kindness, please. And I'll see you in the next one.